Welcome to the new Overlords Podcast, a video game show where I'm joined every week by someone who would never stab me 23 times. It's Sema. Hello there, Sema.
I mean, you're kind of taking that for granted, I think.
Well, not 23. I mean, maybe once or twice per gaming session, for sure. But
And
not
my
23.
my preferred method is punching anyway, but
You know, Sema, these days, everyone's losing the true meaning of the Ides of March. It's not about stabbing someone 23 times. It's about all of us coming together as friends and stabbing someone 23 times together.
right, exactly.
You know,
Hello, Max. How are you?
I'm doing well. And me coming up with that little, well, I actually saw that coming together, but this whole thing about remembering it was Ides of March and stabbing Caesar 23 times, where all that comes from, it did make me think. Whenever I thought of this in the past, and whenever I thought of the Ides of March and Caesar getting betrayed and stabbed by the Senate, I always, in my head, and felt like and pictured Caesar as the victim, and he was wronged. You know, he was this
Right.
was a terrible
He
thing.
was stabbed in the back. Yeah, right.
However, now that I think about it a little bit more, all of his peers, every single person got together, and all of them together, 23 people, decided that this guy is so terrible that we're all going to do this. And not only that,
mean,
we're
even
all
his
going to
best
make
friend.
sure that we each stick a knife in to participate, to prove that it was like a unanimous decision of like, everybody thinks this guy sucks. So it's like 23 people on one side, and Caesar, who potentially was becoming a, you know, maybe he wasn't. It makes me just want to look further into it. You know, history is written by the victor, and everybody's like, Caesar was a great man theory. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he did kind of suck. If like everyone of his peers said he sucked, why are we in the future going, no, he was really good?
Of course, when you said, whenever I think about this, you know what I have to ask you now?
Go ahead.
How often do you think about the Roman Empire?
At least 14 times fortnightly.
Okay, that's funny to me. Maybe to nobody else.
This is true. Whenever I think about this, which is once or twice a day, amongst the other times I'm thinking about the Roman Empire. All right, let's talk about the news.
Good news, everyone!
First up in the news, we have a little bit of news about something that is relevant to my interests, even if it's nobody else's that much. We'll have to see if it remains relevant to everyone else's interests. But Ark Survival Ascended had got a little bit of a news update this week that they are going to be moving forward. We knew that this was kind of on the roadmap, but Studio Wildcard is not very good at communication. They did finally come out and say some things. One of the things that they said was, yes, the Lost Colony expansion map, their maps are kind of their expansions, is coming out for Ark Survival Ascended. So Ark Survival Evolved was the original. Ark Survival Ascended is the remaster. For the remaster, they've been remastering all of the old maps, which are kind of like expansions. Some of them are stories. Some of them are just like a fantasy reimagining of one of the arcs in space. This, though, is something new. So this is a new map, a new story, a new survival challenge, and it's called Lost Colony. And in theory, this leads into the story of Arc 2, which still won't be coming at a minimum until 2026, if not further out, because they keep pushing it out. They've been pushing it out for years now. And we don't know what Arc 2 is. That whole story is maybe it's anything from more Ark survival to a single player Souls-like RPG. And nobody really knows. So they're still working on that. The story, which you've seen of any of the trailers of it, which has like Vin Diesel running around on a planet, what we think is that's like off in a different place and not part of the original arcs. And this story is the connection into what's going on there. And then one of the fun things that you noticed, Sema, which is kind of cool, is they're bringing in some of the animation that's part of the ARC animated series. And that will become cutscenes in the Lost Colony map. So did that kind of, I mean, you and I were kind of having to like hash through on our heads all of the different arcs and maps and versions and remasters in our
me
heads.
in particular, yeah.
Yeah. Because it
I
is
don't know
kind
how
of a
they
lot.
all fit together.
So this is at least, it's interesting because this is new content.
And I also like the title Arc Lost Colony is words that have meaning to me as opposed to like ascended and evolved and you know, it's like it'll stand out to me as its own thing and I'll be able to remember it once I understand where it fits in the story.
The reveal trailer also is some of the animated series. It does make it seem like you're going to be fighting vampires and not dinosaurs. So I don't know what their deal is there. What this story is. It's like you're going to go to the Lost Colony. It's mostly just showing this one battle against this like vampire-ish looking demon creature that flying with flying bat wings and that kind of thing. And then May, which is one of the characters from some of the other cutscenes that they've showed so far, fighting it. No dinosaurs in the whole cutscene though, just this demon. And then the logo stuff they show at the end kind of has this like demonish reveal, and they take the ARC logo and there's like a little bit of fangs come out at the bottom and blood drips off of them. I'll be up for whatever because I like survival games in general, but where's the dinosaurs? Oh, and this part I like too. At the very end, they said featuring the voice talents of Michelle Yeoh, along with Madeline Madden and Aulii Cravalho. I don't
Correct.
know them, but I know Michelle Yeoh, so
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, so that's that. We'll continue to follow the news on that. I am interested, of course, because I play a lot of survival games, and this is one of my ARC continues to be one of my favorite. It's not everybody's favorite by any means, but it's definitely probably if I had to pick one, ARC would be my favorite survival game, I would say. Also in the news, are you waiting with bated breath for the Knights of the Old Republic remake that may or may not be happening?
One of the I don't know how many of us there are. I was going to say I'm one of the few avid players of Star Wars: The Old Republic that's never played KOTOR and doesn't really aspire to.
I see.
Well,
I have
kind
played
of
it.
I like the idea of them doing it, and I would watch some cutscenes on YouTube happily.
I am one of the potentially slightly bigger, but also in the minority groups of Star Wars: The Old Republic fans and players that did play Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic and don't really care about the remake. So I'm with you in not caring about the remake, but I did play it, and it's good. It's great. It's great content. I'm just, we're inundated with remasters these days and remakes. And some of them are very good. Like I keep hearing that the Final Fantasy is at whatever they're in the middle of right now. The Final Fantasy remake that they've broken into 3 parts, and their part 2 is out. Is that Final Fantasy 11 or 7 remake? Is supposedly really, really good, and especially as a remake is really, really good, is what I hear. Not only did they just it's not just a remaster, but they kind of updated the story and even did some new things in the story and have lore reasons why some of these new things are in the remake and not. And so it's supposedly done really, really well. That said, there's so many new things coming out that I'm really excited about. Limited hours in the day. I probably will not be all that interested in going back and playing a very good game, but a game that I already played, for one, and for two, we already know the story and all of the content, and you probably even know it too, just from being soaking in it through osmosis. I want to play the new things.
Well, I definitely know how it ends, right? Because I'm playing. Which I have a thing about prequels in all kinds of whatever type of storytelling I consume. I really have to be talked into doing anything that's a prequel. Not that I've never done them, but
I
have to
agree.
be talked into it.
I agree.
It's just, I know it's not completely, legit, but I just feel like, but I know the ending.
Right.
And
the author came up with
I
a
don't
story.
care about spoilers either, so I can't. Yeah, I don't make sense.
The author thought of this universe and thought of this story and decided to tell a story and decided to make the prequel stuff the background of the story because it was less interesting. We didn't really care. We didn't need it to be told.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
but because money, we're actually going to film the prequel in 3 full movie installments. Okay, whatever. We're in the middle of watching. We just, with the family, we just watched Hobbit, the new Hobbit movies, Hobbit Part 1. And I had to sort of explain to my daughters. Yeah, I mean, they know the Hobbit book. I read it to them when they were kids. But the Hobbit book is half of the size of one of the 3 volumes of The Lord of the Rings. And they took that book and turned that into 3 movies. It's like, come on, guys. Do we really need that? No, let's do something new. Anyway, after that whole glowing endorsement, Saber Interactive has not said they are not continuing to make. They are always never not making Knights of the Old Republic. They split off from Embracer Group. The original owner has an investment group, bought the company back basically under his investment group. Now Saber Interactive, which is potentially a large organization, and reports are anywhere between 1,500 and 2,500 people work at this place, making a ton of games that are supposed to be coming out in 2025 and 2026. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic was one of the IPs that they took along with them. Now, I think people have been pressing the company and the CEO to say, what was your characterization of what he said? They've been pressing him like, are you doing it? Are you doing Knights of the Old Republic? Are you doing it? And what did he say, Sema?
Well, we're doing everything we said we're going to do. Shut up.
Shut up. Basically that. It's clear and it's obvious. Yeah, it was a really weird quote.
KOTOR coming, confirmed.
It's clear and it's obvious we're working on this. It's been in the press numerous times. What I will say is that the game is alive and well, and we're dedicated to making sure we exceed consumer expectations. So you are making it? Shut up. Okay.
But the other thing about KOTOR is whenever I read about this issue of it's going to be made, it's not going to be made, whatever, there's tons of comments under the article of people saying, to this day, I play KOTOR once a year or once every few years or whatever. So the game, even in its state that it is, its old-timey state, people love it and they play it. So
yeah, true.
Like they love it so much that they don't care that it's, well, I mean, maybe that's even an attraction, right? Because that's how they first, were exposed to. I was going to say maybe they don't care that it's an older, iteration, but
yep,
yeah, it's well loved.
Yeah. Market research. I wonder how well that they can find what that audience is that continues to go back and play these games and make content on it, and how that translates into what they would predict or project as sales. It's a really hard thing to do in general, but they do have some levers that they can pull, and they have them. This is a large studio. This is a AAA studio, and that's again, that's budget, not quality. So they apparently, if they're continuing to make it, which maybe they are, maybe they aren't. So shut up. Then they must think that it is too. All right. So we will see what happens with that as well. We'll continue to track it. And who knows? Maybe it's going to be such an awesome remaster we're all going to love to want to go back to play it. That will be interesting to see. Okay, in the coming soon news, which we like to catch up on and talk about, of course. So this is tomorrow, isn't it? Yeah, it's tomorrow. So I will get to play it this weekend. We are finally getting to Assassin's Creed Shadows, Ubisoft, and we will see if all of our predictions and projections of the shit show of social commentary and review comments will come back as we expect it to in this case. However, the early reviews that are starting to hit all of like the Metacritic level of everything is saying, it's good. It's good.
Pretty good.
And it, not 10s out of 10s, but 4 out of 5s and 8 out of 10s, like across the board. Nothing lower than an 8 out of 10, 4 out of 5 from IGN, Eurogamer, Game Rant, Games Radar, GameSpot. So, okay. Critic average is 81. Critics recommend 83%. No player rating yet. And that's what we're going to have to see. And I would expect the player rating in this case to be lower, only because people like to have a big bad guy to not like. And all of the big AAA studios that have lived long enough to become the villain are kind of in that state where they get to be that bad guy. They get to do that for us.
A lot of people who rate things are only inspired to rate it if they have a negative rating.
Right. They shut up they shut up and have a good time, as most of everyone does, who doesn't bother to rate anything anywhere, and then only speak up when they have something spicy to say, which is somewhat human nature too. I mean, you don't like rush to the manager's counter at the grocery store because you want to explain why you love their produce.
Right.
No, 95% of the people that rush to the manager's counter are the ones that have the complaints. So, also in our coming soon news that we like to continue to track, we've been talking about it. Next week then, so 7 days from tomorrow, we will be talking about, so in 2 weeks, we'll talk about Atomfall. I keep saying that the campaign from Atomfall is not that long. So we'll have to see how long it is or it isn't coming soon, I guess. That will be interesting. Like 20 hours, 25 hours, I think is what they said. So people that are, again, comparing it to, and they're trying to, I think, set expectations too. They keep kind of saying, yeah, the people that are comparing it to Fallout, it's not really that kind of game, because I think they don't want people to be disappointed when it's like a 20, 25 hour game and not a game I get to play for the rest of my life game.
Mm-hmm.
So keep your expectations in check, and we may have a fun game to play for a fairly long amount of time. Again, much longer than the $25 for going to the movie theater and having some popcorn that you're going to be paying when you go see the Minecraft movie in a few weeks. And that one will be 90 minutes of potential eye pain instead of 25 hours of interesting content. I don't know. I am not looking forward to that one. I don't think that's going to be very good. I mean, it's people that I kind of like, but okay. I am against eyeball pain. Depends on the I guess the quality of the eyeball pain. But that is Atomfall. In Zoe, we just keep mentioning, but I don't think we really care that much about it. Enough to play it. I'm interested to see what the fans of it have to say.
Yeah.
But then I started to look ahead into April, and I saw something fun in the April news of stuff that we'll get to check out, which is South of Midnight. So South of Midnight is something we saw in the game updates from Xbox. It's really stylized. It's also got a little bit of that Bayou feel to it. It's really like a really cool stylized characters and art style, sound composition. I'm looking forward to trying it because it's Game Pass day one, and that'll be on April 8th. So come relatively soon to try it.
I think it'll be a really good game too. Just the storytelling, I think, is going to be.
We'll see what the gameplay is like. I mean,
yeah, the game. Yes, I don't know, but
I'm gonna love to just wallow in the art for a little while because it's just like it's coming together really well. I really like what they did with the art style, really unique in that way, which I think is pretty cool. So that'll be fun to check out on April 8th. Oh, and this last one I did find. This was a fun little one to find There's a lot of these games out there, but there's a growing market for it, and rising tide floats all boats. I know people don't believe that, Sema. Too many people don't believe that the rising tide floats all boats. They think that it's a zero-sum game everywhere, and it's not anywhere.
No.
In economics, in anything, it's not.
Right.
Trust me.
And so much bad publicity surrounding every game makes me sort of feel down about gaming in general. So the opposite is true also.
Right. You can shrink a market by making people feel bad for participating in it, or by making bad products, obviously. Anyway, this game is called Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game. And basically what it looks like to me, I haven't looked too deep into it. I don't think there's multiplayer. So what it looks like to me then, my pitch is going to be, it's single player Palia set in Hobbiton. So you get to be a little hobbit. You get to befriend the other hobbits. You get to like decorate your little hobbit hole house. You get to plant a little garden. You get to explore a little bit. Very chill, very cozy game, Palia-esque in that way. And that's it. I think that's all I saw. I didn't see much more than that.
It's like a Hobbit sim.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. To the level of Palia. Look, there's fishing. That fishing looks exactly like Palia. It really looks like Palia, but hobbits. It was supposed to release the next week. Yeah, it was supposed to release next week, but it's been pushed off until July. So that's why it kind of hit my radar. It was supposed to be coming soon, but it's pushed off till July. And I think it's the reason it was pushed off is because they're going to release on all of the consoles and PC all at once. So I think they're doing a little bit more porting and certification work. Yeah, Stask, how many breakfasts? I wasn't even showing. I've got the video here that was playing in the background. There better be a second breakfast. I have been playing. So we're going to talk about Star Wars this week. We didn't move on. I didn't play 2 Point Museum, which is still getting great reviews. I didn't play that. I didn't play the Age of Mythology Retold. I played Star Wars The Old Republic and Return to Moria. So I've been playing. I'm like immersed in Lord of the Rings games. I transferred my character on Lord of the Rings Online. I did not log in, but the transfer says it completed. And I've been playing a bunch of Return to Moria. I got to the new, the second Master Forge, which is the Belgarath, Bergirth, that one. Oh yeah, and I've thought about the Roman Empire. Thank you, Possible. Return to Moria. So I got pretty deep. Our host, which is one of our pals who hosts all of these games for both the New Overlords, his groups, and Alea S, Nazrai, his hosting has been offline, but we would like to get another group play to go back in there and do sort of like group exploration again. In the meantime, everybody's playing in solo games. So I've been still playing Mines of Moria. I had to fight 2 Uruk-hai last night to get into this last place, and they really made that. It's like getting harder and harder. Not only harder in that, just the tier, okay, well now you go get the new gear, but like throwing more and more harder mechanics at you. So this one, I like had to fight these 2 Uruk-hai, and every time you get to a new area, your weapons are a tier lower, so they like barely work anymore. You're doing like single digit damage instead of like double digit or triple digit damage. So I'm barely hitting these guys. There's rocks falling from the sky from the cavern, like the cavern's caving in a little bit. It's just like an effect in the room that can hit you in the head and like stun you. And there's poison mushrooms all over the ground that can poison you and stun you. And there's shadows seeping up from the ground that can poison you. And there's these Uruk-hais that I can barely fight. It was hard. It was hard. Yeah, but there's only 2 that you had to get in to kill to get to the next area. So I did get to the next area. I unlocked the forge. I got to a special place and found out what like sort of like the next step in the story needs to be. So I'm now I need to work on that. And it's the campaign. So you get and the Raven showed up again to tell me that I did a good job. And now here's what you got to do next. Well, you're not done yet. But anyway, Second Breakfast reminded me of that, because in that game, if you eat a breakfast and then wait a couple minutes, but it's still morning time in the survival game after you woke up and you eat another breakfast, you get a special buff called Second Breakfast that makes you a little bit stronger for the next 5 minutes. Zen, you thought I liked being stun locked? Yeah, you know me. That's one thing. Anybody who's in voice with me,
he seeks it out.
I yell it out. I whine and complain every time that happens in a game on Discord with my teams, and they're all used to it, and they all just roll their eyes every time I start whining and complaining about being stunned by any boss or whatever we're doing. And the worst, everyone knows, the worst is getting force choked. Getting force choked is the most humiliating stun in any game anywhere. It's just humiliating, because here you are, you're like, I'm the leader of the Alliance. I'm a Jedi Master. I'm a blah, blah. And you get force choked by some fool. And you're like dangling off the ground. I don't like that. I don't like. This podcast is brought to you by Garden and a Goat. We've got a lot of fun stuff that we're working on there. You'll be seeing that soon if you follow us at gardenandagoat.com. Also by Alea Iacta Est, our gaming community, aie-guild.org. Bunch of fun people there doing fun things on all of the nights. And also by everyone out there watching, listening in the chat room, both, and I've got them both up on the screen. It doesn't look really pretty, but I've got them both up on the screen here. The chat rooms on both Twitch and YouTube. So we're streaming on both of them. I don't think I'm using either of them the way I wanted to. So we might go back down to one, but it seems like some people like one of the platforms, some people like the other. So we may keep them both. And now that I've got both of the chats up, if I can make them a little prettier and match them up a little bit better, maybe it'll be better. Keep that going too. So thank you. Thank you everybody in the chat rooms. Thank you everybody who listens, and everybody who tells their friends that they should go listen to this podcast. Everyone who tells their Amazon Echoes to rate it 5 stars. Can you even do that? They should be able to. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. That is really excellent. But now it is time for some SWTOR talk.
Bet you didn't see this coming!
Star Wars: The Old Republic. It is a game that we continue to play. It's probably my number one most played game. Well, it's definitely my most played multiplayer game. Sometimes these single player games, I can go down a rat hole and play it for hours a night. But in terms of like group game multiplayer, I'm the game night with my pals on Thursday nights, where it's the 8 of us going off and doing stuff, and sometimes we stream that. Star Wars: The Old Republic still continues to be the game that we play now, 10 years later here. It is a game. It is a game. It is a good game. We're having a lot of fun with it. We just started Galactic Season 8. So what Galactic Seasons is kind of like the battle pass in Star Wars: The Old Republic. Now they've had 8 of these seasons. They're about 20 weeks long. We've just started the next one, the season 8. And we're in the middle of the second week, and we got a little bit of a view of what they're doing in this, what the objectives are, what the rewards are. So that's what we wanted to sort of dig into and talk about today. We've got a couple fun things. We've got a couple things that are a bit points of friction that we wanted to mention, but it's cool. The game is still a fun thing to play. Wouldn't you say, Sema?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I already admit it. I'm an avid fan.
That was for me to take a sip of tea, and Sema said, "Yep." Okay.
Oh, I finished my tea, so that's the problem.
There we go. Let's talk about the rewards. Have you looked too deep into the rewards? In fact, they might. I'm showing the live stream here. I think they show some of the rewards.
I have not. It's really weird. I mean, I'm glad for the new season. But I don't really know what the rewards are. I just like playing the season and, progressing.
It's interesting. The rewards, I completely agree. The rewards at this point are really superfluous. They're kind of beside the point. After playing 10 years, and I'm sure this isn't in every MMO that anyone has played for 10 years. WoW, the same thing. Like how many pets do you have in WoW, Sema?
A lot.
Oh, come on. Lay it on us. You know.
But
You know the
I
number.
it's 4 digits. But anyway, even with
Yeah.
pets and WoW, if there's an activity to do to get a pet, I'm more likely to do that than to just go like buy a pet or whatever. It's like
Right.
even that, I'd rather have something like an activity, or even if it's I have to go back to things I forgot how to do and buy things I long ago vendored or something. I like doing that. So when I find out about a pet that's from long ago that I don't have yet, I go, oh, cool. I'll put that on my list of things to do when I get bored.
Because it's a thing to do, which is nice.
Yeah.
So
And yeah, so I'm more motivated by that actually.
right.
But maybe that's the sort of collector. I mean, I think
Well, that's part
wanting
of it.
to collect things is part of MMOs. Yeah.
Yes.
That's part of the whole persistent world thing.
In the way that you almost don't care what it is. It could be like a blank gray cube. But if you don't
Right.
have the blank gray cube yet, you're going to do
Right.
the thing to get the blank gray cube.
Right. And it's like when I see like mounts and stuff, and I don't really, I mean, it's not, I don't go, oh my gosh, that's the best mount I ever saw. I really, really want that. If there's an activity tied to getting it, then I probably will do it.
Mhm.
Right.
And the other thing, activity-wise, is this is for in the era of us not getting the content because of factors, and some of them outside of Broadsword's control, like voice actor problems and things like that. This is the content as well, or part of
Right.
the content. This is some content. So it's content, and it's also, in some ways, we'll talk about what ways it is and isn't. It's group content. And we really like that as a gaming group, because we've got the guild, we've got our game group on Thursday night, we've got the broader group that has a bunch of operations teams on other nights, and we've got everyone comes together on Tuesday nights for some like open, just random fun stuff running around the world. This ends up being something that we all can check a couple things off of our season list for the week and do together, and just goof off and talk and chat, and just have something to do while we do that. So I'm glad we've got it back now. I'm glad the season has started back up. Speaking of rewards, though, the big reward, the final reward, and there's a couple other big ones too, but the final reward for both rank 100 of the season, which is like, it only takes about 15 weeks to do, or 12 weeks to get to 100, and it's 20-week long season. Even if you do it slow, you can get it done pretty easily. But it's a hairstyle. And then the meta achievement, which is do 100 objectives, not just enough to get done with the 20 weeks, which is like 70, but do 100 and do a couple extra things and like do all the things. That's also another hairstyle. So hairstyles being the whole sort of end reward was interesting to me. It's not something they've done before.
It's something for them to try.
I don't really care. I won't use them, but because it is something different, that seemed perfectly fine. I wasn't like, why didn't they do the thing I wanted? Because again, there's almost nothing I want. There's things I like that they do, but there's nothing on my list that I tune into the streams and go, when are you going to do the Marcos Ragnos with the hood toggle? I've been waiting for that for years. I don't have one of those in my arsenal of things that I want out of the game.
I might be interested in the new hairstyles if they don't make me look like I'm bald and wearing a wig. Like when you jump up and down, some hairstyles
don't attach like to the back of your scalp. Yeah.
Right. So you look bald, or if there's clipping or whatever. Like I'm happy with the hairstyles. I found the ones that, that I'm fine with. But if these are created in such a way that they don't have those issues, I might, switch around my hairstyle.
Yeah. If they attach, and then it was with the hoods. Anytime you wore a hood, the way they handled that in the engine was they would remove your hair and the hood would just
Right.
like be right above your eyes, so you couldn't tell that there was no hair under there, but it didn't
But
really all
even
look
even
that
without
good.
that, sometimes there's hairstyles that when you jump up and down, they fly up, and then you have like unattached, like like bald skull that has no hair attached to it, which isn't. It's upsetting. It's disconcerting. I didn't like it.
There's also a couple dyes. There's a couple pretty cool looking car style vehicles.
Yeah.
And those are inspired by sort of like the classy executive vehicles that Senator Mon Mothma was driving around in the Andor show. So those are really cool. And then there's a
Are you
little
showing those now? 'Cause
nope.
I don't.
There you go. There you go. For people that are watching, I am now showing it on the screen. I do like
I
this
do
dark,
like that.
this dark
Yeah.
one. Looks pretty cool. And then there's a little droid. There's like a little ball droid with 2 little eye sockets on it. That looks pretty cool. I'm happy for those. So that's cool. And then there's a whole bunch of other things. There's 100 ranks, and there's 1 to 2 rewards for each rank out of the 100. Some of them are as small as, here's a stem. Some of them are bigger, like here's some cartel coins, which are the cash shop coins. And some of them are like a vehicle or the end one. If you're a
It's
subscriber,
pretty cool armor. Yeah.
yeah, there's a free track and a subscriber track. So free track, you get all the free ones, all 100 of those. And then subscriber track, maybe it's not every single slot, but almost all of them, you're getting 1 or 2 things every rank. Yeah, that's cool. Dyes, but they're the new metallic dyes are coming by the end. So the metallic blue and matte gray and metallic blue, which although those sound like the same thing, they're not, because the way the slots work, it's actually a really cool difference between them on various armor sets. Okay, so that's the rewards. So we've got the rewards. That's fine. What are we doing this season? How would you characterize what do you feel? Did you do it? Do we get a story mission?
Yes.
Did you do it? Oh, I forgot
Where
to
you-
even look at that.
You exchange messages with Kai Zyken. That's all. It gives you some of those things that you can use in uprisings for your extra powers.
The Zerka experimental combat enhancers, which we
Yes,
need to
those-
talk about.
Yes.
Because the theme of this all then and those combat enhancers that Kai Zyken is giving you to are to be used and can only be used in uprisings. And so for people that aren't familiar with what they've done in Star Wars The Old Republic, they have flashpoints, which are dungeons in any other MMO. They have operations, which are raids in any other MMO. And then about 5 years ago, they invented uprisings. And uprisings were intended to be still group content, still like a dungeon run, but they were intended to be shorter and they were intended to be more dynamic, like run and gun, hordes of smaller ads coming at you. Just shoot them down, get through couple mini bosses, kill an end boss, and you're done. And they more or less succeeded in being that. I think they could have gone farther to differentiate them from flashpoints. A lot of people just feel like they're just sort of like another flashpoint. But they did. They've taken this season and they've wrapped it around the idea of let's do uprisings again. Let's get everybody back into uprisings. Let's make each week maybe 1 or 2 of the uprisings, because there's like 6 of them to do, or 6 or 8. Let's make one of them the feature one that you got to do to check it off your list. And then let's also spice it up, in theory, with these Zerka experimental combat enhancers. So explain what you've either explain, Sema, what they're supposed to be, or what your experience with them is, which we'll talk about both.
So I have to start by saying I'm not an avid uprisings runner, so I'm not the best judge of using them versus not using. I'm talking about the combat enhancers. I was hoping what it would be is it would be just like now running uprisings is just a funny lark, and you can just run through there and just mow things down and be completely overpowered and balance be damned kind of a thing. But it's not like that. They are extra abilities, but you still have to do, good combat practices and follow the mechanics of the fights and all that stuff. So it's still like it didn't go far enough for me to say, gosh, I can't wait to do my next uprising. So I'm questioning whether I will actually do the meta this time around, because I already do group content in Star Wars: The Old Republic, and we would have to schedule something and do it every week, a separate thing to do uprisings every week, and that would be a third night.
Right, because you can't solo them, typically.
Right, and that would have been, I guess I kind of assumed that we could solo them if we want to, because you can solo most stuff for Galactic Seasons. I mean, you can solo enough stuff to do Galactic Seasons if you wanted to. So I thought it was kind of going to be in that ilk. They didn't say that. I don't know why I thought that.
It's only one of the objectives out of the 10 per week, and you only have to do 7.
Right.
So you could skip uprisings, and I bet you're going to get done with the meta achievement, whether you want to or not. Except
no, because one of them is
the
the uprisings is in the meta.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll talk about that in a second too. Yeah. So the three buffs that you could get. So you get this little experimental stim. It's like a boost, a buff. You click on it, and you get randomly one of 3 quote unquote effects. And the effects are either supposed to be, because we just are not seeing them work as much as they should be right now. But one of them is every 5th enemy you shoot explodes and does damage to other enemies around it. A second one is a point blank AoE around you that, by their slide from the dev stream, is a devastating point blank AoE that will help you mow down your enemies. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. And then the third, which I don't know if we've ever seen, is a remote combat droid that will join you in combat to help mow down your enemies. So in theory, you get one of these 3. And what also can happen, and this is the way they started to get a little cheeky and was supposed to really spice things up, was because these are made by Zerka, which is the in-game, it's almost equivalent to like goblins or gnomes in terms of quality of product in World of Warcraft, where they usually work, but sometimes they go wrong. So Zerka is a corporation that does a lot of experimental stuff, and a lot of times that it breaks down. They cut corners. Their experiments break out and terrorize the galaxy.
What they were trying to make in the first place was a horrible monster to begin with.
Right, and it escaped.
Right, and of course it escaped. Yeah.
So in theory, these can also then affect the enemies and give them buffs once in a while, and they can become enhanced. And that's the subject of one of the meta achievements. You're supposed to kill 250 enemies that have been enhanced by the random experimental defective application of the Zerka experimental combat enhancer that you have on you. So it's very difficult to even figure out right now which of the enemies have had something happen to them. Because we're like we went through a few of the uprisings, and we're like killing some of the enemies, and like, okay, well, none of those guys counted. So, okay, 2 of those guys counted. What is going on? We had to like realize even what the text was meaning of what we were going to get credit for. And there's barely any way to tell in game of that they've become enhanced. For one. For 2, these devastating effects that are supposed to be helping you mow down your enemies, I'm noticing no difference in damage or speed of clearing the uprising or anything. I mean, you see a visual effect once in a while, barely. But
this is where I feel like, since we don't do a lot of uprising, we might be a little off base, because.
But we've done enough.
Maybe it's a lot quicker than it used to be, but it seems exactly the same to me.
It seems exactly the same to me too. And the uprisings do come up probably once a month in every season. So I've been doing them. And you've been doing, we've had uprising nights.
If Stask and Machete make me, I do them.
Yeah, they make you do it. So it's underwhelming. And what I was hoping is it would be whelming.
I want it to be whelmed.
And I don't see why it shouldn't be. As you said,
Right.
let's just spice it up. Make it so I can solo them. I don't, make it so it is crazy. Make it, what they show in this screenshot, which is a devastating point blank AoE. So I could just like run around with this lightning flying off of me and just like killing stuff and mowing it down. Maybe I still got to like kill the bosses, but make it, make it fun.
Why can't I do that? I mean, I understand why I can't do that in PvP.
Right. Exactly.
It's not
right.
that.
It doesn't have to be balanced.
Time limited, portion of the game that never got that adopted by the community, and why not break it?
And it's a temporary 20-week thing because these stims are going away. They aren't a permanent addition to the game. It's only in these. They don't work anywhere else. For one, and for two, when the enemy gets enhanced by it, make them grow to double their size. They do this other times with like. You go out in the wild and they even have quests where it's like inject the experimental serum into the Wampa and see what happens. To inject 5 of them and some of them grow to twice their size. They're going to do it with the Kilix. No, the Geonosian. No, the Kilix. Whichever one's on the one planet where you're going to inject the bug people and some of them grow. And then if you inject them again before it wears off, they'll grow like to double the size. Did you ever see that? I've got a screenshot where one's like 50 meters tall. Anyway, do that. If you're going to say that they're affected by these enhancers, or set them on fire or make them glow or make sparks come off of them, make something crazy happen. Don't make it seem like I'm just doing the same uprisings I've been doing for 5 years.
Right.
Yeah. Because uprisings aren't bad. They're fine group content.
And even though I say, maybe we didn't notice a difference because we don't play them that often, or me, I wanted it to be big enough so that a me would see the difference.
Right. Right. And anyone new would know that something weird was going on too.
Right. Right.
Not just making it feel like you're going and fighting anybody anywhere. So I think they still have an opportunity to do that. I don't know if they will.
I do too.
This is a 20-week season.
Maybe not in this season, but they do have a history of, that wasn't enough. Okay, let's tweak.
Yeah, juice it up.
Yeah.
Whereas
the other problem we have with dynamic encounters, I don't know if they can fix that.
Okay, let's talk about dynamic encounters. So those are still on the list. Those are something we're doing, and they do come up as objectives both in the season and in Conquest, which is sort of like just like daily achievements, daily tasks you can do for fun and prizes. And we like to do them for group content. Well, we usually like to do them for group content. And they're relatively new to the game. So we talked about them, I think, a few weeks ago. A couple planets have them right now. It's Tatooine and Hoth primarily. They're talking about adding them to new planets too. And at any moment in time, there might be 6 to 8 of these showing up in random locations around the planet. And they're kind of like mini quests, mini dailies. Some of them as simple as kill one, a Jawa, this Jawa leader has gone bad. You got to go take him out. And it's just one Jawa.
Yeah.
Other ones are funny, goofy, like these Tauntauns love to slide down the hill. That's one of my favorite. You have to like go to the bottom of the hill, pick up a baby Tauntaun, slowly walk to the top of the hill, set it down, and then it runs back down the hill. And you got to do that 5 times and you're done. But cracks me up.
That's okay. I mean, I could say, but this is one of the ones that has a problem if you go there with a group of people.
Yes. Explain the problem, the myriad problems of doing it in group content.
Well, this one, you can pick up a Tauntaun and you can take it to the top of the thing, but you cannot let it slide if someone else's Tauntaun is already sliding. And there's no like timer, there's no indicator, there's no like, and so everyone is supposed to go to the top and just keep clicking until it randomly works or appears to be random, right? Or I mean, even if you wanted to wait for your friend, how long do you wait? I mean, it was frustrating.
There's that. On Tuesday nights, we're going in a group of like 16 people, which is a group. Right. Group size in Star Wars: The Old Republic is 4 people. Raid size is 8 to 24.
Yeah.
Some of the So here's what happens. You go to one of these and they're all random. Sometimes it's like shoot 20 enemies. Sometimes it's pick up 5 boxes and shoot 20 enemies. Click on 3 things, whatever. It will be some random version of we go there as a group. One person does the thing, shoots, picks, clicks, and everyone gets credit. That's the best case. Is one person does the thing, everybody gets credit. If it's a giant boss, usually that's the way that works. Sometimes that's the way a small one will work. Sometimes one person will click a thing and only the people in that person's 4-person group gets credit. Okay, well then each of the 4 groups, and we're getting better and better at this. We're like, okay, here's your group leader, follow them around. We all have to separate because now we're like stealing click boxes from each other. Got to be careful of that. Okay, that's another way it can work. A third way it can work. We're in here in a group of 16. Every person individually needs to click on the icicles. Okay, now we all have to like stand around and take turns and line up and then like wait till everybody's done. And then like nothing counts for everybody. And this one, which you don't know until you get there and start trying it. And then the even more fun 4th way it can work is everyone goes there. It's a group event where everyone on the server, in theory, can participate. The percentage is counting up. You kill the boss at the end, and a random sampling, like 6 random people out of the 16 do not get credit for the event, and they go back to 0.
Right.
And you say, well, why did that happen?
Yes, and it's random because
it's a mystery.
It's like you're probably thinking, well, they didn't hit the boss. Well, they did because we tried
those
that.
Things.
Or, maybe they have to be the first one to tag it or something, which is ridiculous if that's true. But even doing it that way, that person still didn't oftentimes get credit.
Right.
I mean,
and sometimes we've waited and let them go back around and let those people do the whole event again. And sometimes even by themselves. So we're not interfering and they don't get credit again.
Right.
So some of those, if you drop group and everyone separates, then it tends to sometimes work better in some of those cases, but not all.
I was just going to say, if you're listening to us and you're thinking, well, why don't you just break it up into groups and don't be in a raid, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's how we get around. We go someplace and summon,
right.
Everybody.
We're bringing people new to the game that haven't been to some of these planets before. We're doing a group night where we're trying to do things all together. So we need to all be in the same raid group to summon.
I mean, that's how we, one of the ways we communicate.
It's called fleet transport. It's like your guild fleet ship comes and beams everybody up and takes you to the next place instantly. But that's the theory,
the map
which is a nice feature.
Like Zen said, doesn't the map show if the progress is shared by the group? Well, first of all, yes, but what's a group? And also the words don't always match how it actually works.
Correct. Yes. So sometimes yes, sometimes no. But the one in particular that we're talking about is like the Imperial Assaults then. And we've had this many times now where a random sampling of between 3 and 6 people out of 16 to 20 do not get credit for the Imperial Assault, which is a server-wide.
Right.
Anybody are standing around.
So in that case, what I'm assuming is if we broke up the group and did it, everyone would get credit. But then then we have to invite everyone back. I mean, no, we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's like asking too much of the person who's leading the event for that night.
But yeah.
Yes, and there's different versions of shared too. Like one version of shared is you click on it and everybody gets credit. Another version is you click on it, nobody else gets credit, but those people still can click on it. And then another version, which is not shared at all, is you click on it, it goes away.
Or like with the icicles, when you click on the icicle, you do an animation for 2 seconds, and then the icicle explodes and you get credit for it. If other people in your group only, your group of 4, not the 16, in your group of 4, click on it during that 2 seconds, they will also get credit, but not after because it disappears, and not anyone else outside of your group of 4 for that one in particular. It's like, I don't know, software development is hard. Software development on a code base that has been around for 10 years is hard. But it does seem like there's like 20 of these on each of these planets. They got 20 people to each implement one. however they wanted to do it.
Right. You can call whichever subroutines you want for this. But like there was that one where, you had to like, what's the word? They had to unmine the mines.
Disarm the mines.
Disarm the mines. It's like there were some that like I disarmed and didn't get credit for. There were some that blew me up and I didn't get credit for. I mean, it was...
Yeah.
That one was very random.
We did a version of that on Tatooine where if one person in your group of 4 disarmed the mine, everyone in the group got credit. However, when we did the same thing on the same kind of, disarm the mines on Hoth, each person, whether or not you were in a group, needed to do it individually. At least on that one. And it's painful because these are all fun and we want to do them as a group and we want to do it more and more. That one's awesome.
Stask says they're very dynamic.
Very dynamic. They should just make it different every time. Like
sometimes
it counts and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's group, sometimes it's not. They should roll the dice every time you go to it.
You do that with your guild for an hour or so and you've been in a battle. Yeah. It's exhausting.
Man.
And I wasn't even leading. I was just doing my best.
And everybody's trying their best to like stay together. And because like sometimes if you're not within 30 meters, even if you do get credit as a group, then you don't. That's definitely always been the case. But again, these like the disarming the mines. If you step on the mine, it counts as disarming it and you fly 20 feet through the air. If you step on a mine and anyone else is within 10-meter radius, they also fly 20 meters through the air. I love that. I would just love to get credit for the right amount and not be confused of why people are and aren't getting credit. But if I have opportunity to blow up my friends in any game at any time, I am going to take that opportunity. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they need to tweak this stuff because it could be a really fun thing. And also, this is another one of those situations.
By yourself,
yeah.
Just to clarify, if you're completely by yourself, I have not run into issues with getting credit with stuff.
There's barely any issues. And when you don't get credit, it's because someone ran in front of you and clicked the box.
Right.
You know what's going on. So there's that. They've added some things to the game like shared tagging. Shared tagging sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. But in the cases where shared tagging now works, that's a nice addition to the game where you could come up, like a fight could be in progress. You could help out and get credit. That's nice when that works. So they're adding more and they're fixing it up. They just need to go through and do a pass. And what I say is make it work for whoever's in the group, no matter the group size. And if you get groups of 24 people, which is the maximum group size, running around and plowing through these dynamic encounters, and you feel like they're like gaming the system because they're getting them done. These are like piddly events, and there's only 6 of them on the planet ever anyway. They're not going to get ahead. Just give them all credit. Give everybody in the group credit every single time, no matter what.
Right. If they're doing it for some balance reason, I can't imagine that. But if they are, it's not a good application of it. Right.
Yeah. Because that would solve it for us. Because then we would run around as a group and we would goof off and we would be able to talk about, why Keanu Reeves should play Revan in the next movie or not, and not have to be like, all right, does everybody who didn't get credit? Okay, group up, blah, blah, blah. Every time. And everybody is trying really hard to be coordinated and line up. But it's just, we could focus on where I'm going to summon you on what cliff edge you're going to end up on. Up to almost the top of a volcano is where I summoned somebody last night. That was a good group. So yeah. So that's dynamic encounters. It's a great addition to the game. They just need to tweak and tune up that consistency and just give people credit. Just let them go. Let them do it. Because again, also, if you get 24 people roaming around doing this thing and gaming the system by doing it 24 people at a time, you have 24 people playing your game together.
Right.
Which is which is a win.
Right. I mean, literally, and we're not gaming anything because, especially the way it is now, it takes like 3 or 4 times longer to do each one.
Right.
It's
Than
not
doing it
quicker.
solo.
Yeah.
And if 24 people were doing it all together, it would still take just as long as doing it. So some of them would
Yeah.
be done a
Right.
little bit quicker.
Right. It's because when you have to kill 20, white mob pirates, it's not like they're grueling death to, fight to the death. It's
No.
there's simple fights to begin with.
Yeah, it's 3 shots and you're killing them solo.
Yeah.
It would be slightly faster if you were in a big group because anyone within 30 meters who was killing one would give you credit. But also, you have to kill 20 white mob pirates, and there's only 20 there, and somebody else was there before you and killed 10 of them. You're going to have to wait for respawns anyway, no matter if you have 100 people in your group or 1. Nobody's going to get done too fast. And you're time gated because these events only show up at certain times, and there's only 6 active at a time. And if you do all 6 of them, you will run out of events on the planet, and you'll just need to wait around until the timer kicks over, and you'll get some new ones. Give everybody credit. That's. Let me get Keith. Get Keith on the phone. Eric, where's my broadsword phone? All right. Did we have anything else to rant about today? I don't think so. But we rant because we like it and we want it to be better. Oh, the last little rant is, and it's not really a rant, but these guys are annoying and they're back. The DVL bosses are still in this season. So they came back last season as they're almost world boss quality. They're definitely world boss difficulty.
Yeah.
Single humanoid named NPCs that you get to fight. And some of them are like Republic, some of them are Imperial. So there's Sith Lords and Jedi Masters, and you're going off and fighting these, and they're in remote locations. Go hunt them down. There's always a couple of them active at a time, and there's always a couple of them that are objectives for the week. They're very annoying to fight though, because they are boss mob mechanics where they take, you can have 25 people fighting them at once. And sometimes you need 25 people fighting them at once because they can wipe groups very easily, because they put out a mechanic where 8 of the 25 people now are dropping circles of death on the ground, and they need to keep running. And you're going to drop 6 of these circles of death. And if everybody stands in a circle of death, they die. And the boss is also going to randomly force choke 4 people. And if he force chokes one of the 8 people that got the circles, now you're force choked in a circle of death and you die. So people die constantly on these fights. Big circles of lightning. And if you get a circle of lightning on you, you have a chance of dying. If 2 people, which are everybody's running around because you got to get out of the circle of lightning, you're dropping on the ground. You get out of yours barely, and 2 other people converge on you and drop their circles on you, you die. Happens all the time. Well, these guys are back. We get to fight them again. We're not all that excited about it, but it's group content, and at least it's you have to have a big group to do those, and it's not bad to have that kind of thing. I just wish they weren't so annoying and random and guaranteed death the way their mechanics work.
Right. To the extent where there's a couple of them that are missing one of those effects, and those fights go so much more smoothly, but you still need a lot of people. It's still a fight.
Yes, definitely.
They don't need to have the debuff and the stun and, multiple stuns. Some of them have more than one stun.
Debuff and the circles and the stun.
And have the circles follow you, and have the boss randomly turn and hit someone too.
Yeah. So, but as I said, either having that or just the traditional world bosses as objectives is still a good thing, because that's solid group content. We don't.
And
have
if they were going to fix something, fix.
Oh, we do have to kill them. We do have to kill them all again this season for the meta, don't we?
Right.
All right. Well, now it is a little painful because they're each named, and there's 16 of them, right? So again, for the meta achievement to do to overkill, do all of the things, you need to kill every single named one, and there's only 2 of them around a week. So you need to every week be checking in and killing the 2 that are up that week so that after 10 weeks or whatever, you get through them all.
Yeah. And we tend to do these fights in our guild group, so we have 15 or 16 people. But I know as an option on Tuesday night or like near the beginning of the week, you could probably just go to those bosses and find a bigger group. So if there's a bigger group, it obviates some of the stuff that we're complaining about because you personally get fewer circles and you personally get fewer stuns. And
ironically, all of this stuff is like easier solo.
Yeah. It's a world boss, but it's easier solo to just tag in with the group, especially if you can have
your healer, hanging around with you, healing you, your companion.
Right.
Yeah. Dynamic events, easier solo. Any of the world bosses, the DVL bosses, easier solo. Now, uprisings and flashpoints, you typically can't do solo, so there's that. The season is 20 weeks long, so that's plenty of weeks to get it done. But if you miss a week where one of the bosses came up, you'll have to wait for it to come around the second time, which is tough. So that's what we had people coming down to the wire last season to get all of the named people done because they had to wait for them to come around the second time and get those people in. Anyways, it's content. It's not the content that we were hoping for, which is also the story content and additions to the game like that. But Broadsword is continuing to negotiate and respect the continuing negotiations between we speculate. They haven't come out and said this directly, but everything in the game is voiced, and it's voiced at such a high quality. We know that they go through voice work with at least 16, 48, at least like 48 voice actors. Like every content update they do. Maybe some of the voice actors do multiples, but it's 3 different languages. So it's like all of the player characters, all of the characters in the story, and then in 3 different languages. It's so much work. And because it's so many of those voice actors, they are trying to wait for the resolution of the strike, which is still going on with SAG-AFTRA and voice actors, trying to get contracts in place that protect them from having their voices had the potential for their voices to be used by AI. They just want protections in place, which is warranted. And it's not that necessarily even that people don't want it or the voice actors don't want it. They just want to be compensated or make sure that those protections are in the contract so that if they do agree to it, they know what they're agreeing to. And if they don't agree to it, that it doesn't happen. Because there are some uses, and there was a news report recently of the voice actor who does the voice of Alloy in the Forbidden West games, the Into the Wild. What are those games? Anyway, the Alloy games. She does great work on that. But she had a couple comments about some part of the AI voice acting programmatic tool set that was available that they were sort of like talking to her about. And not that she didn't want it or it wouldn't be useful, because what they want it for is they want to hire a voice actor like her to do all the voice lines for Alloy. But then if they need to, like, after the fact, like edit or change a word or like add in another like voice line somehow, they could just have the AI tool do it and not have to like schedule another studio session and pay her for that. But it's still scary. It's still scary for the voice actors, which you could imagine. But having that as a tool set to be able to have a content cycle where you don't have to have 48 people come back into the studio because you messed up a voice line, like for Star Wars: The Old Republic's perspective, you could see why that would potentially be attractive. And a useful tool to get games made. Again, if you pay the actors and they feel protected and they agree to it. So they need to work that out. And that's what they're waiting for. And then we will get the story. We hoped by now to potentially even be looking towards a whole new story. I don't think we're going to get to a new story by the end of the year, though.
I mean, there's no good sign that the strike is coming to an end.
for one, and for two, it had to be at least two content updates, which is one a major content update like this with the big story is once every 6 months on. So they have 4 updates a year. 2 updates are smaller ones with this kind of stuff. 2 updates are bigger ones. Each of them might have story or the date nights or the different things that they put in. They've got none of that going on right now. So I think we are currently at least 3 months behind. Yeah, we're at least 3 months behind, and we'll probably end up 6 months behind of the story moving forward. And the story seemed to me to have at least 2 chapters remaining. I didn't think they were going to wrap it up in the next one. So they're still hoping to get the next one out by summer. And then the winter update, like the December update, would be the next 6 months one. That would have been potentially the finale. I don't know that that's going to be the case. And we might be in 2026 before we get the finale of this story, which everybody is kind of like ready for it to be done. Just because we want to move on and have the next story. And we want to hear the conclusion. It's tough. I mean, this is like George R.R. Martin levels of finish the damn story, kind of. When it was Winds of Winter coming out, it's the timing. It's tough. So yeah, we will keep an eye on it. We will continue to play. You can join us jump into our Discord or the AIE Discord. We'll catch you in. We do that open guild fun night on Tuesday nights. You can come struggle along with us. And if you got any good techniques for getting these dynamic events done as a group, let us know. Maybe we could try them out. Other than that, we will be looking forward to. We got it coming. I'm gonna get into it this weekend, Sema. We'll see all about the Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm kind of excited. I don't expect to play it all the way through. I'm excited to wallow in it for a while.
Yeah, it looks really nice, as all of them do, but yeah.
Yep. And it, by all accounts, so far in the early reviews, everybody's saying, yes, it is very nice. They've done a really good job, which is great. It's great to hear. I like that. So we'll be talking about that next week. And then the week after that, I hope to be talking about Atomfall. And then we'll see. No one knows, because always in motion is the future.
Yes, it is.
Difficult to see. Always in motion is the future.
Okay, well, that is it for us for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. All the feed and subscribe links are on newoverlords.com, and our videos up on YouTube/newoverlords. Please come chat with us in our Discord at newoverlords.com/Discord. And you can also follow on all the social networks, and we will keep you up to date there too. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.